Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. Up first today, Duane Towes visits with Beth Gaines from the Kansas FFA Foundation. Then enjoy this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Duane Towes and Tracy Streeter talk about data pertaining to the water conservation efforts in Kansas. Then it's this week's Kansas Farm Bureau Update, and we'll end with Plain Talk with Kyle and Duane. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Find out more at kansasgrainsorghum.org.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first, Duane Towes visits with Beth Gaines about plans for the Kansas FFA Foundation this year.
Duane Towes joining you once again on Ag AM in Kansas. Chance to catch up with Beth Gaines with the Kansas FFA Foundation. And Beth, you're somewhat new to the position this year, but a big year ahead for the foundation with big plans to continue to support agriculture and education here in Kansas.
Absolutely. We're excited. We've got the school year kicked off. We've got 10 new chapters across Kansas, and there are just any number of exciting things and developments happening with the Kansas FFA Association this coming year, including the fact that as we progress through the school year and through those things, next summer we'll be celebrating our 90th convention. So it's really kind of that milestone mark for the Kansas FFA. So a lot of kids have come through the program, and we're excited to celebrate that milestone.
We think about the opportunities to support, and obviously that is the goal of the foundation, support those FFA chapters and that program to maintain the vitality and viability, which is continuing to grow.
Absolutely. Kansas FFA has got the reputation of being a premier youth development and leadership development organization. So that's due in part to our fantastic sponsors and donors and partners around the state who share of their treasure so that we can offer these high quality programs, which really that they can't get anywhere else other than the Kansas FFA. So it is my pleasure to work with those partners to help support those programs across the state.
One of the great attributes of the program that it develops those leadership qualities in those individuals, and we've kept quite a few of them here at home.
Absolutely. At the Growth Summit this past year, there was a lot of young people, and I use young in a relative term because I'm getting older every day, but certainly the product of Kansas FFA training was very evident, and working with those state leaders across all commodities that really it goes back to bedrock, the foundation, the public speaking, the leadership, the agriculture interest, and those folks are engaging in Kansas agriculture, and we're proud to see them continue that effort.
Obviously, it is a foundation. It is those donations and those philanthropic groups that take it upon themselves to support young people, and that's great to see.
It is. We're pleased to have Ford as a 5-star sponsor, and this year at the state convention, we were able to offer over $50,000 worth of scholarships to help those young people support those. Their educational efforts. So that's just one example of how our foundation works. We have programs that donors are able to support upcoming educators. Over half of our teachers in Kansas agriculture have been in a classroom for less than 5 years. So offering rich and meaningful professional development experiences for those educators is important to keep them in the classroom so that they have the best tools available to teach those agriculture classes. So we have a lot of donors that, in addition to sponsoring the youth activities and our youth development, they're also reaching out and sponsoring and supporting our ag educators in the classroom.
Our thanks to Beth Gaines with Kansas FFA Foundation joining us on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Folks, come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean Update.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com. Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com. Valley Vet Supply.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, Sure Crop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. Sure Crop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose Sure Crop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Sean Schmidt, Program Coordinator for Central Kansas Clean Cities, joins us. And Sean, if you're a Kansas resident or operate a business or agency in the state and you use biodiesel, you're eligible to receive a rebate.
That's correct.
And why is that, specifically looking at biodiesel? Why is this rebate in place?
We'd like to increase usage for biodiesel, particularly in the state of Kansas. The fuel that's cleaner than diesel, and it helps the Kansas economy quite a bit.
So if you're an individual, what are the specifics that you need to be able to be eligible for that rebate?
So for an individual, the rebate is $1 off per gallon for blends of 5% and above that are 5% biodiesel. That rebate is up to $200 per year for the entire program.
And do they need to fill out a form, do something online to be able to do that?
They don't need to fill out a form if they want to take advantage of the rebate program. What they'll do is either send me or the Kansas Soybean Commission a receipt showing that they filled up with a blend above 5% biodiesel, and we'll reimburse them for that purchase.
So now, if you're a fleet representing a business or an agency, what are some of the things you need to do to qualify for that rebate?
So it's similar to the individual. It's $1 rebate per gallon for up to 2,000 gallons of any biodiesel blend above 10% for fleet.
Do they need to certify the purchase kind of similar to what the individual would need to do?
Yes, very similar. Send a proof of purchase to the Kansas Soybean Commission, and we'll reimburse them for it.
Why is it important to have relationships like this between Clean Cities Coalition, the Metropolitan Energy Center, and the Kansas Soybean Commission?
The Clean Cities program, we try to be a non-biased entity that promotes all alternative fuels within transportation, and a big one of that is biodiesel. So a good relationship with the Clean Cities program and an entity like the Kansas Soybean Commission. We're promoting a domestic fuel, and even more specifically with the Soybean Commission, we're promoting a fuel that is used and a lot of the time produced in Kansas.
And they can go to the Metropolitan Energy Center's website to get more information?
Yes, it's metroenergy.org.
All right, sounds good. Sean, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
That is Sean Schmidt, Program Coordinator for Central Kansas Clean Cities, who joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more as Duane visits with Tracy Streeter about water conservation.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at KFRM.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide. Presented by Lucas Oil. Featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV. The all-new Better Horses Network.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now Duane and Tracy Streeter talk about data collected from water conservation efforts across the state.
Duane Towes joining you once again with Ag AM in Kansas, and a chance to catch up with Casey Streeter with the Kansas Water Office. And Tracy, obviously we've seen and discussed for a couple of years now the governor's water vision for the state of Kansas, and starting to get to the depth of some of the issues. But some recent data suggests that we're making some positive progress with some of the things that we're implementing.
Yes, that's true, Duane. We certainly have a number of good examples of some conservation efforts out there over the Ogallala that are showing some real positive results here over the last 4 or 5 years, particularly the Sheridan County Local Enhanced Management Area. They've been in existence. This is their 5th growing season, and even in 2015 we saw aquifer levels actually rise a little bit. And a few weeks ago the governor and the Geological Survey were on a tour of western Kansas, including Sheridan County and Garden City, and some of the numbers the Geological Survey are showing us is that the reductions that would be required to stabilize and even sustain the aquifer for a good long period of time look achievable. For example, in the Sheridan County, they have a 20% Lima right now reduction. Was their goal. They've exceeded that. They're up closer to the 30% mark, and with a little bit more reduction, they can level off in that area. Overall, in GMD4, the Geological Survey is looking at about a 23% reduction overall over the entire GMD. Should level off the aquifers according to the data that they're looking at. And there are other areas. You go down to southwest Kansas, there's a group working on a local enhanced management area proposal north of Garden City, and the reductions that they need to make aren't all that drastic to get to what they would predict would be level aquifer levels or sustainability. Now, the Geological Survey is hesitant to say that that's doable into perpetuity, because we don't know what the future is going to hold with climate and other things like that, but they certainly have some confidence that with the types of reductions they predict, we'll have level aquifer levels for a good period of time.
Obviously, when some of these discussions started, it was fear and scare almost, if you will, that western Kansas would run out of water. One, and two, it would decimate agriculture and industry in that end of the state, which would be critical to the state budget and the good of the state if that were to happen. These types of things showing that, hey, we can make some changes and some differences certainly have to be enlightening.
They are. It's very encouraging, and we've had water technology farms out there as well this year where we're trying the latest innovation in irrigation, water management, and technology coupled with the conservation. And what we're seeing is we're not seeing a real change in bottom line and productivity with some reductions in pumping. The technology is really helping us have the confidence and the ability to turn those sprinklers off when the soil profile has moisture. And we have more information at our fingertips now, or our cell phones, or wherever you're getting the data. It's readily available. Communication between a soil probe and an iPhone will sit there and tell you whether you need to turn the sprinkler on or off. And so the conservation efforts that are going on, and we're seeing more and more interest in individuals and entities doing conservation, is growing, and the technology is giving them some confidence that they can do it successfully.
Well, certainly we think about how the aquifer got to where it was, where we started to hit that critical point. It didn't happen overnight. As we look to rebuild that, it won't happen overnight either.
No, it won't. It takes time, and it's really kind of a cultural change to start thinking about the aquifer in terms of having it be the norm to think about what can we do to extend the life. Those are water rights, they're personal property, and we're certainly respectful of that. But as communities start to come together and groups of farmers come together, they're looking at the future and want to make sure there's another generation of irrigators and their family that have that ability and that opportunity. And so the mindset's changing out there, I believe. And every meeting I go out to in western Kansas, I'm exposed to a new irrigator or a new group that's interested in trying to, what do we need to do to have a water conservation area, or what can we do to be a technology farm, because the momentum is certainly moving towards a kind of a mindset of conservation.
Well, our thanks to Tracy Streeter, Kansas Water Office, joining us on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
This is Eric Stonestreet, and as many of you know, I love my home state of Kansas. In March, Kansas ranchers lost homes, equipment, and thousands of cattle from the largest wildfires in the state's history. Imagine losing all you have in a fire. Not just your house, but your livelihood. Ranchers are beginning to rebuild, but it will take years and tens of millions of dollars to build back herds, fences, and other infrastructure. Today, I'm asking you to help. Donate what you can and show your support to the ranchers of Kansas. Simply go to kansasfires.com. Your donation is tax deductible and will go to those who need it the most.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
The American Farm Bureau Federation met with counterparts from Canada and Mexico earlier this week to discuss trade issues relative to the North American Free Trade Agreement negotiations. AFBF trade specialist Dave Salmonson says the meeting shows a unified voice across the NAFTA partners on agriculture issues.
We think it's very important that among all the countries that industries can come together, and in agriculture has seen the benefits of NAFTA across the board in all three countries. So they came together to say this is an important part of our economy and we want to see the gains we've gotten from this preserved.
The meeting this week follows a similar meeting held in August between agriculture groups from Canada and Mexico, along with AFBF.
We had gotten together back in August to decide what commonalities we might have, and we all agreed that overall NAFTA has been very positive for all countries, and announced the fact that we didn't want to see anything go backwards, but we're looking forward to some modernizations. And the meeting we just had, we affirmed all of those same issues.
He says the main issues include standards and market access.
We don't want to have food safety standards used as a protectionist trade barrier, so let's base them on science, and there's a lot of agreement there. At some point, they'll be talking about U.S. and Canada dairy trade. Within the TPP, there had been some new access for the U.S. to Canada. We hope that we can get that kind of access in the NAFTA agreements. We have issues with what role geographic indications labeling is going to take, so plenty of work ahead, and October 11th, the negotiators will be back in Washington, D.C. for another round of talks.
Michael Clements, Washington.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are up to on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk with the right on the money Duane Toews.
On the mark.
On the mark.
Your fact or fiction question of the day.
It's set.
Tom Slick.
Go.
Now, wasn't that
that was my CB name, Tom Slick.
I thought so.
I can't believe you remember that.
What are the odds that Tom Slick is a millionaire oil man and Yeti hunter from Texas? Yeti hunter. I thought Yeti was a cooler. Evidently, it's an animal.
Well, no, Yetis are the
Yeti
abominable snowman.
No, I don't think so.
What's the big hairy guy out in the forest that they call him by a different name? Bigfoot. Bigfoots are Yetis.
Oh. Well,
okay.
This Tom Slick guy from Texas enlisted actor and big game hunter Cary Grant, really, to smuggle stolen Yeti bones out of Tibet in 1958. Fact or fiction?
First of all, Tom Slick was a cartoon character that was a race car driver.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I got the name Tom Slick, or that's how I chose the name Tom Slick.
Chose the name.
Because I was a race car driver. No, I think he actually had a green car also, and I had a green car. And other than that, I have no idea how I picked Tom Slick.
No, or maybe.
But I'm going to go with fiction.
It is fiction. It wasn't Cary Grant. It was Jimmy Stewart.
Everything else was
who
right.
helped Tom Slick and his men liberate the mummified Yeti fingers from a Tibetan monastery. Stewart hid the fingers in his luggage, successfully smuggled them into America.
Wow.
So,
I wonder, Jimmy Stewart was a pretty stand-up guy, and in those days, he was still a member of the Air National Guard or something like that. He retired as a general from the reserves, and he was a pilot in World War II. I'm just sure that's right. It's really hard for me to believe unless there was
some other reason?
Cause, right?
Well,
a cause.
What's the cause of smuggling Yeti
Well, because they were going to be
monastery?
ground up and put into a fire and never to be seen again. I'm just making that part up, but I'm saying I'm surprised he would be involved with something like that unless there was
good cause.
Good cause for it. Yeah.
All the movies certainly that I have seen Jimmy Stewart in, he was a stand-up guy.
He wouldn't accept any role that he wasn't the good guy.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I think that does happen to actors is they
kind of get slotted.
They get, what do they call it, typecasted?
There you go.
As you got the bad guy, he's the resident bad guy. Now think about a lot of the
Westerns in particular.
You had the same guy showing up as the bad guy in movie after movie.
Right.
And, on the other hand, being a bad guy appears to have earned a pretty good living.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.